from a minute or so. It's very fast that way. Hare Krishna, Sonal Mataji. Hare Krishna, Vidyavadhu.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. How was and I see that Vidyavadhu is also joined. Okay, and I also see Priti Radhika. Okay, good. Sonal Mataji, I'm good.
Hare Krishna.
And all right, so we have some quorum here. We'll just get started, and I'm going to put those who are on the phone here on the mute, and we will just take it from there, starting with the Mangalacharan prayers. So
all participants are muted, and they can unmute themselves.
Let me start
the recording has started.
Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padkamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Khanvitam Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Naha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Gaur Premanande Hare Hare Bol. So welcome everybody to our call. And those of you who are joining on Free Conference Call HT, as well as those of you who are joining us on Zoom. Varshana Mataji is on Zoom today, and those of you who are watching us on YouTube as well.
Krishna Mataji, Dandat
Pranam. So let's see. Go back over here and what's the verse for today? Does anybody remember what's the verse for today? 35? Did I hear a 35?
36, I think.
Is it 35 or 36? You decide. What did we do last time?
Mataji, 30. I think 34. I'm not sure. If 35 is done.
So you should be sure, right?
36 we have to do.
35 we did?
Yeah.
What did we talk about in 35? Okay, are you members? Do you get messages from weekly Vedic readings? That's
yes.
Good. Okay, go back and look and see what verse is that we did.
That's what I'm doing.
Okay, good.
So we have 32, 33.
Mataji, the message says 6.35.
All right, so we should be doing, yeah, that is for today, right? What did we do last time?
Oh yeah, 6.34.
34 we did, right?
Yeah.
So what is 6.34? What was very special? It's a very famous verse, 6.34. Do you remember anything from last time? Let's look at 634, right? Because there's no point in charging through a chapter of Bhagavad-gita if you don't remember what we did last time, right? So I'm giving you 634 so that we can have a recap. And let's look at 634. And please confirm once you get that.
participants are unmuted.
Yes, we have it.
Okay, good. Welcome, Archana Mataji and Sukharupa Mataji also. You got that? All right. So somebody's going to read that and tell me what is it that you, just the gist, not the whole. Don't start reading the whole thing. Just give me the gist of what we did in
So Krishna is
6.34.
saying that Chanchalam hi mana Krishna pramati vedradam tasyaham nigriham mane vayur eva sudushparam. That means Krishna is saying that mind is definitely restless, it's turbulent, it's obstinate, and very strong. So that you showed us an acronym Arjun is saying that Krishna, it is very difficult to subdue this mind. It is more difficult to control than the best.
Okay, and what was the acronym?
Acronym of short Mataji is for strong, O for obstinate, R for restless, T for turbulent.
All right. Okay, very good. Very good. So now we can go, right? Now that we have that, what is Arjun swing? So we have a little bit of a background. And now let's go to verse number 35. And did I give you the link for 35?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay. And you know that if you are on 34, you can also go to 35 from there.
Yeah, we can go to 35.
Okay, perfect. So then let's look at verse number 35 here. And then we'll spend a little bit of time discussing what is there in verse number 35. Okay, so here, I'm also going to go there. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Asanchayam Mahabaho Manodirnigham Chalam Abhyasena tu Kaunteya Vairagena cha Grihyate Asanchayam Mahabaho Manodurnigraham Chalam Abhyasena tu Kaunteya Vairagena cha Grihyate. So, Sri Bhagavan Vacha, Sri Bhagavan said, the personality of Godhead said, right? Asamshayam means undoubtedly. Mahabahu, O mighty armed one. Manaha, the mind. Durnigraham, difficult to curb. Chalam, flickering. Abhyasena, by practice. Tu, but. Kaunteya, O son of Kunti. Vairagena, by detachment. Cha, also. Grihyate, can be so controlled. And let's look at the translation. Lord Krishna said, O mighty armed son of Kunti, it is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind, but it is possible by suitable practice and detachment. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The difficulty of controlling the obstinate mind, as expressed by Arjuna, is accepted by the personality of Godhead. But at the same time, he suggests that by practice and detachment, it is possible. What is that practice? In the present age, no one can observe the strict rules and regulations of placing oneself in a sacred place, focusing the mind on the super soul, restraining the senses and mind, observing celibacy, remaining alone, etc. By the practice of Krishna consciousness, however, one engages in 9 types of devotional service. Before I go further, I'm hearing some background sounds. So if you can mute your devices and then unmute it when you have a reflection or a question to share, that will help me here because we are recording this for posterity. The first and foremost of such devotional engagement is hearing from Krishna. This is a very powerful transcendental method for purging the mind of all misgivings. The more one hears about Krishna, the more one becomes enlightened and detached from everything that draws the mind away from Krishna. By detaching the mind from activities not devoted to the Lord, one can very easily learn Vairagya. Vairagya means detachment from matter and engagement of the mind in spirit. Impersonal spiritual detachment is more difficult than attaching the mind to the activities of Krishna. This is practical because by hearing about Krishna, one becomes automatically attached to the Supreme Spirit. This attachment is called Pareshanubhava, spiritual satisfaction. It is less like the feeling of satisfaction in a hungry man has for every morsel of food he eats. The more one eats while hungry, the more one feels satisfaction and strength. Similarly, by discharge of devotional service, one feels transcendental satisfaction as as the mind becomes detached from material objectives. It is something like curing a disease by expert treatment and proper diet. Hearing of the transcendental activities of Lord Krishna is therefore expert treatment for the mad mind, and eating the foodstuff offered to Krishna is the appropriate diet for the suffering patient. This treatment is the process of Krishna consciousness. Hari Om. So, in this section of Bhagavad Gita, 6th chapter, where we have been talking about yoga, and now there was explanation what needs to be done and things like that, and through the aid of questions and doubts that Arjuna is expressing, Krishna is going to lead him to the conclusion that bhakti yoga is the best, like that. And that's what his aim is of reciting the Bhagavad Gita also. So just to familiarize ourselves with the language, which is also one of the things that we do. So if something is very difficult to stop, what is that called in Sanskrit?
Nigraham.
Good. And then if there is no doubt about something, what is that called?
Sanshayam.
Asamshayam, correct. Okay. And what is detachment called?
Vairagya.
Vairagya. And what is by detachment called? Vairagya?
Vairagya.
Yeah, Vairagyana is by detachment. And simple detachment is called Vairagya.
Vairagya.
Yeah, Vairagya and Vairagyana. So we just are trying to familiarize. This is not a class on Sanskrit. We're not, aiming to learn Sanskrit. It's just familiarity. And it's such a beautiful language that, you can always relish reading it like that. So we had heard, and you had also confirmed today, about Arjun's dilemma, right? That he says, Chanchalam hi mana Krishna. So it's very difficult. He's saying to curb the mind. And how do I, do that? It was his concern. And in response to that concern, Krishna is addressing Arjuna. And how does he address, what does he call him? What name does he use? Mahabhahu, right? So he's calling him Mahabhahu. Asanchayam Mahabhahu. Mano Dirnigram Chalam, right? So he's saying that he's addressing him as Mahabhahu. So just one Arjuna was actually enough to kill the entire Kuru army. He had so many nice weapons with him. He had wonderful skills, right? He was a wonderful person. He was a devotee of the Lord. He had Krishna on his side, right? So he's Mahabhahu. So Krishna is saying, addressing him as Mahabhahu, he's not undermining Arjuna's capabilities, because Arjuna is kind of like saying, how will I do it? Instead of just, last time I had mentioned that instead of just saying that Krishna, what you're suggesting is bogus, cannot be done. He's saying that I am not able to do that. I have got this inability to do it and things like that. So Arjuna, after he expresses that, Chanchalam hi mana Krishna, Krishna on the other hand, is addressing him. First, he's giving him some positive reinforcement. He's saying Mahabhahu. He's not saying, oh, you stupid fool, you don't even know how to do that. It's so easy. Come on, let me show you how to control the mind. He's not saying that, right? So he's saying he's Mahabhahu. But on the other hand, after addressing him as Asamshayam Mahabhahu, he's also saying Mano Durnigraham Chalam. So it is dur means difficult, nigraham means to control. So he's saying it is very difficult to control the mind. And we know that Arjun is very famous for controlling the grass, right? He's well known for that. He can fight that, he can kill, he can do this, he has got a nice chariot and things like that, right? But what he needs to control is the subtle. And it's very difficult to control the subtle, right? So we talk about that. And there is a very nice set of verses that are there in Bhagavad Gita. And I'm going to share those verses. They are from the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, and which talk about this so-called hierarchy which is present there. So I'm going to post it on your windows and let me know whether you get them. Please confirm that you got that.
Yes, we have it.
Okay.
Yes, Mataji, got it.
So here he's saying that the working senses are superior to dull matter, and mind is higher than the senses. Intelligence is still higher than the mind, and he, the soul, is even higher than the intelligence. So he's showing how the subtle is, higher than the gross. And so if he's saying that it's the mind is very difficult to control, then maybe we should engage our intelligence. Maybe we should engage the soul. And then even higher than the soul, what else is there in our body which is higher than the soul?
Super soul.
The super soul. There you go, right? The super soul. So we can take help of all of them. So then in the next text, he's saying, thus knowing oneself to be transcendental to the material senses, mind, and the intelligence, O mighty Arjuna, one should steady the mind by deliberate spiritual intelligence, Krishna consciousness, and thus by spiritual strength conquer this insatiable enemy known as lust. And it's because of lust that the mind goes here and there, right? It's chanchal because I see this, I like this. I see this, I want this. I see that, I want to enjoy that, like that. So mind is going all over the place, one by one, one by one, one by one. So he has already told him that, right? But look at how gently Krishna is handling Arjun. He's not saying again that, didn't I tell you? Chapter 3, verse 42, where was your mind? What did you do? You don't take notes, like that, right? He's not saying any of that because he is his teacher. And we remember that in the second chapter, and we are now in 6th. So in the second chapter, Krishna, Arjuna had actually surrendered to Krishna, where he says, Karparnya dosho pahata sabhava, that I was just thinking about myself, right? And then he says, Yes shreyasyan nischitam bruhi tanme, shishyasteham shadi mam tam prapannam. So he just says that I am your soul surrendered to you. Please instruct me. So he's taking him as a spiritual master. So now that he's the spiritual master, and also because Arjun is a soul surrendered. So when somebody surrenders into you, it becomes your duty to take care of them. It becomes your duty to guide them, right? And while you are guiding them, then you have to be gentle about it, right? So he has already told him that higher than the mind is the intelligence, higher than the intelligence is the soul, and things like that. So there are some qualities of the soul actually that are applicable to the mind as well, on just going by the quality. Of course, mind and soul are not the same because mind is material and soul is spiritual, but there are some qualities of the soul. So question for you, in which chapter of Bhagavad-gita are the qualities of the soul described? Which chapter of Bhagavad-gita? Anybody remember? Soul. Okay. So what happens in chapter 1?
Mataji, chapter 13.
Soul. Okay, let's see what happens in chapter 1. Anybody remember? Those doing the morning 6:30 class.
Observing the army on the battlefield. Chapter 2. Nature of the soul is described, I guess.
Okay, good. So what's happening in chapter 1, Priti Radhika? Were you saying something?
Observing the armies on the battlefield of Kurukshetra.
Okay, so that's the heading. But what's the main things that happen in chapter 1 of Bhagavad Gita?
Oh, so everybody, first of all, it begins with Dhritarashtra asking Sanjay, like, what is happening? What are the Kurus doing? My sons are doing, and Pandavas are doing. And then Arjun, the whole crux is that Arjun is leaving. He can't contain himself. His Gandhi is slipping down, and he says that my elders and my respected father-in-laws and all family members are assembled here, and I cannot kill them, Krishna. So after he asks Krishna to pull the chariot in the middle of the battlefield, so then he says that, Krishna, I cannot fight. So that's what has happened in chapter.
Right. And what is the reason he gives of I don't want to fight?
He said that because he has to kill his guru who is on the opposite side, his Pitama, that he loves, and so he's like, even if the whole kingdom I get it after killing them, it will be tainted with blood, and I don't want to do that.
Yeah, so he's talking about death, right?
Yes.
Death of his people. So then he gets very worked
Yes.
up and he sits at the back of the chariot and says, I cannot, he just goes back and he puts his head down, right? So that's when chapter number 1 ends. And then chapter 2, he continues a little bit. Again, he's worried about how can I do that to my teachers and things like that. Then he surrenders to Krishna. And then Krishna has to quell his fear of death, right? So in order to quell his fear of death, he tells him that soul is immortal, right? So then he starts describing
Yeah.
Yeah. So as Archana Mataji was pointing out, that it is in chapter number 2. So I've given you a verse. Can you please confirm that you got the verse in chapter number 2?
Yes, we did. Yes, we have it.
Okay, then open that verse and see. What does that verse tell us? What qualities of the soul are coming out in that verse?
Will be cut to pieces
be
by
cut.
a weapon.
It cannot be broken. Okay.
Cannot be
Cannot
burnt.
be wet with water.
Okay. So let us see. Let us look at these properties that you have defined. Do these apply to the mind also?
No. I mean, yeah, it's separate.
No, these properties of the soul that you just talked about. What are the properties? English, the soul can never be cut to pieces by any weapon, right? Can you cut your mind? Like, there's a bad part of the mind, there's a good part of the mind. So let me cut to pieces, take out the bad part, throw it out, and be left. No. Okay. Can you burn your mind with fire? The fire we know. Okay. Can you throw some water and clean it?
No.
And can you do anything to it because of the wind, through the wind, like blow dry it or something? You can,
No.
right? Yeah, he's saying Chanchalam Himana Krishna. It's even more difficult to conquer the mind. Okay, let's go to the next verse. Verse number 24. More qualities are defined of the soul. So let's see what are the qualities. We'll take them one by one. Okay. So one person give me one quality. What's the quality of the individual soul?
Soul is breakable.
Okay. So let's see. So is the mind unbreakable? Can you break it? Can you take a hammer and break your mind? Okay.
No.
Insoluble. So now you see that, can you dissolve it in water or some chemicals or some bleaching soda or something like that?
No.
Okay. Can you burn?
No.
Can you dry? Right. So you see that Krishna is emphasizing here. Some of the things are repeating, right? So that happens because to emphasize certain things. So you can't dry it. Okay. He is everlasting. Okay. Now tell me, does this apply to the mind?
No.
No. Very good. Right. Present everywhere.
No.
And why do you say no? Yeah.
Because soul is part of the super soul and has the minute quality of the super soul, and super soul is omnipresent.
Mm-hmm.
So the minute soul is also present everywhere.
Minute soul is present everywhere. That is right, and that's why he's saying, he's sarvagata, right? Because the soul is there. Prabhupada says in that particular verse, the soul is there in all over the God's creation. Like they will be there in the land, in the water, the air, within the earth, and of course, wherever there is a soul, there is an embodied soul. There will be a mind also, right? There will be a subtle body to that soul. So the mind is also sort of all pervading here. Okay, what more is there? What more properties are there? Unchangeable. So tell me, is the mind unchangeable?
No, mind changes every.
Mind changes. I made up my mind. Okay, no, I could not make up my mind. He's not able to make up his mind. Okay, and then if the mind is unchangeable, then we are in a very bad situation, right? Because the whole process of devotional service is to change the mind from being your enemy to becoming your friend, right? So it has to change, right? So this is one property of the mind which is not there, is not aligned with the property of the soul, right? Immovable and eternally the same. So of course, eternally the same is already covered under unchangeable. So mind definitely changes. And immovable, well, mind actually travels very fast. It moves a lot. It travels faster than the speed of light. It goes here and there, right? For example, if I were to say, like, think about the moon. So your mind has gone to the moon. How fast did it go to the moon, right? Like that. So it does do that. And then let's go to the next verse and see.
Invisible.
Okay, so is the mind visible?
Mm.
Yes, Mataji.
So when did you see your mind, or whose mind did you see?
No one.
Okay, no one's. Okay, so mind is also invisible. All right, inconceivable. Yeah, it appears to be inconceivable, but at certain point in time, you can train the mind and make it do whatever you want to do. Mind can be studied, right? And people can understand the workings of the mind. Shastras will tell you, right? Immutable means you cannot change it, but yes, mind is changeable because you can change it like that. So then, of course, he was telling him not to grieve for the body, but our focus today is about the mind, and that's what we're talking about. So mind has got fierce godlike powers. It's got so many things that it's sharing, so many qualities that it is sharing with the body, with the soul. Sorry, and so Krishna is actually, if the mind is that powerful and that strong, then Krishna has to. He's a teacher. He has to give guidance to Arjuna, and he also has to give him confidence that you will be able to do it, right? So that's why he's saying that you will be able to do it through what? What does he say in the words? Today's words. How can a man control the mind? So two things he mentioned.
Detachment and practice.
Yeah. And what is the Sanskrit for that? Vairagya and abhyasa, right? So you have to practice, right? And then vairagya is to be detached. So Ashtanga yoga, as has been mentioned by Krishna in the chapter 6, that it is difficult. We have already known that. We don't have to keep on harping on that it's difficult. But we have to understand that the practice of Krishna consciousness, when you practice Krishna consciousness, then you will engage in the 9 processes of devotional service that we took on Saturday during the Bhakti Viv class, right? And so let's see, what are the 9 processes of devotional service? And who talks about the 9 processes of devotional service? Who has been a very famous person talks about that?
Prahlad Maharaj.
Prahlad Maharaj talks about that, right? And we have got evidence of that in the Shrimad Bhagavatam. So I think it is verse 23, 24 in the 7th canto, chapter 5. Let's see if I'm there. Yeah, it is like that. So let me send this link to you here and we'll all open it and see what are the 9 processes, because it just helps us to keep on remembering what those 9 processes are. Please confirm when you get the link.
Yes, Mataji, got it.
Okay, so let's go there here, 7, 5, 23, 24. Shri Prahaladu Vacha, Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnoho, Smaranam Padasevanam, Archanam Vandanam Dasyam, Sakyam Atma Nivedanam, Iti Punsarpita Vishno, Bhakti Chen Avalakshana, Kriyate Bhagvatya Adha, Tanmanye Adhitam Uttamam. So Prahlad Maharaj is saying that hearing and chanting, Shravanam, about the transcendental holy name, form, qualities, paraphernalia, and pastimes of Lord Vishnu, remembering them, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, offering the Lord respectful worship with 16 types of paraphernalia, offering prayers to the Lord, becoming his servant, considering the Lord one's best friend, and surrendering everything unto him. In other words, serving him with the body, mind, and words. These 9 processes are accepted as pure devotional service. One who has dedicated his life to the service of Krishna through these 9 methods should be understood to be the most learned person, for he has acquired complete knowledge. Okay, so this is the way, this is the ultimate way for us to control the mind. And so if we have to do any type of practice, this is the practice that we should do. This is the right way to do that, right? So here Krishna is just introducing that, right? He just introducing a little bit. He has introduced about yoga. He's telling him it's by detachment and practice. And then Arjuna kind of, later on in the chapter, I'm just giving you a little ahead of time, that Arjuna will then say, oh, practice, and what happens if I'm doing practice and I'm not successful? And then Krishna, he takes a side, little detour. And then Krishna explains to him what happens to people who die before their devotional service is complete, before they have achieved perfection in yoga. and then those who have just started kind of thing. So what happens? Where are they born in the next life? What do they do in the next life? And things like that, right? So he tells that, but then again he comes back, and he's telling him that how a person will should actually be devoted to Lord Krishna, and then that is the way that he will be able to control his mind. So there are a couple of verses. I'm just going a little bit ahead, and I have posted those verses on the WhatsApp group for you. So if you can confirm that you can see it, so we'll just have a look at that.
Here we
Yes,
go.
Mataji.
Right? So in 45, further down, he will say that when the yogi engages himself with sincere endeavor in making further progress, being washed of all contamination, then ultimately achieving perfection after many, many births of practice. So don't be worried if it takes few births to do that. He attains the supreme goal. A yogi is greater than the ascetic, greater than the empiricist, and greater than the fruitive worker. Therefore, Arjuna, in all circumstances, be a yogi. And then the last verse, the culmination of all the yogis, the one with great faith who always abides in me, thinks of me within himself, and renders transcendental loving service to me. He is the most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. And that is my opinion. So he has, cast the verdict there. Krishna is saying, all right, I'm talking about this. I've talked about that, talked about this, right? So basically, when we talk about yoga, yoga is you are connecting to Krishna. We are connecting our consciousness to Krishna, the supreme absolute truth, right? Now, when you connect to Krishna or try to connect to Krishna through different processes, it'll be called a different type of a yoga. So when you're trying to connect with Krishna and predominantly you're trying to do fruitive activities, right? What is that kind of a yoga called? When you connect with Krishna to get some results, that's called karma yoga. Very good, right? And when you are connected to Krishna and you're trying to do empirical philosophy, right? Is this God? No, this is not God because it doesn't have these properties. Is this God? No, this cannot be God. Like that, right? What is that called?
Sankhya Yoga.
Yeah, Sankhya Yoga, and then trying to find God through using your own mental capabilities, using your own mind to find out what God is. That is called Jnana Yoga, right? Through Jnana, you're trying to do that, right? But then when you're trying to connect with Krishna with devotional service, then that is called Bhakti Yoga. And that is the ultimate perfection of yoga, right? So when you do that, when you connect with Krishna, then you'll get eternal life, you'll get a blissful life, and you'll get a life which is full of knowledge. In Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st canto, 2nd chapter, I keep on referring to that, we come across a verse which is Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janyat Ashu Vairagyam Jnanam Cha Yat Ahetukam. So sometimes our approach is that, let me first become a jnani. Let me first read all the Vedas and then I'll be able to understand Krishna. Because Krishna says, Janma Karma Cha Me Divyam Evam Yovati Tatvata Tyakta Deham Punarjanma Naeti Mameti. So Arjuna, he says that in the 4th chapter. So he's saying that a person who's able to understand me. So then the approach of the egoistic soul who thinks that I am kartaham miti manyate, I do everything, sits down and says, okay, let me understand Krishna by reading books. And, I don't care about anybody. I don't have to go to the temple. I don't care about other devotees, nothing like that. I don't need deities in my house. I don't need to do anything at all. All that I need to do is to sit and rake my brains and try to figure it out as to who Krishna is, right? But that's not, bhakti yoga. That's not the way to get knowledge. The right way to get the knowledge is to do bhakti. And when you do bhakti, then by default, you will automatically get. Now, this is what this verse is saying, that Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janyate Ashu Vairagyam. So when you start to engage in devotional service of the Lord, then Janyatu Ashu. Ashu means very quickly. And when they say very quickly, it is because in comparison to the millions of births that we have spent without thinking about Krishna at all. So as compared to that, if you get knowledge and renunciation in a few lifetimes, then it's really quick as compared to, talking millions like that. So Janyate Ashu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayat Ahetukam. So you will get that knowledge, you will get. So Gyan, as you get it as a concomitant factor. Actually, Narad Muni also tells the same thing to Vyasdeva in Srimad Bhagavatam also, right? So, sometimes people will just, attend a yoga class and they say, oh yeah, I do yoga. And no, this is not the right yoga. This is not the true yoga, right? Trying to do yoga practice to reduce the fat in the body, which I did, and to keep the body fit. It's our duty to keep the body fit because it's a gift of Krishna, and we use this body to do devotional service. But trying to reduce the fat in the body so that you can slip into a lower size dress is not the reason that you should do yoga. And also, even if you are doing Hatha yoga, which is the various postures, etc., and we have so many yoga parlors all over the world nowadays, even if you're doing that, there are certain rules and regulations in doing that kind of a yoga. Right after the yoga practice, like you have to exercise vegetarianism, right? And no illicit sex, etc., no alcohol. You have to follow the 4 dignitative principles even when you're doing Hatha yoga, but people don't do that, right? So that is not the end of the yoga system to get a beautiful body, but people are taught like that. So we have so many people who will tell you that you can do this, you can do anything, and you'll ultimately find God. But that is not what God is, right? You have to pursue bhakti yoga, and there's a very interesting verse that I like to bring up, and which is from Srimad Bhagavatam, and is from the 11th canto, 2nd chapter, and where the Nav Yogendras are teaching Lord Nimi, the King Nimi. And if you can confirm that you got it, we'll go into that.
Yes, Mataji, got it.
So, what does it say? It says, Bhakti Pareshanubhavo Viraktir Anyatra Jaishatrika Ekakalaha Prapadyamanasya Yatha Asnataha Syus Tushti Pushti Shud Apayonu Ghasam. And what does it mean? He says, devotion, direct experience of the Supreme Lord, and detachment from other things. These three occur simultaneously for one who has taken shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So detachment, vairagya that we're talking about. So when Krishna is talking about vairagyana and practice, he's not saying that you become a sannyasi, leave everything, right? He's not saying that. He's just saying you basically stay detached with the material things, because that's where the more the attachments we have, the more difficult it is for us to control our mind. So when we sit down to chant, your mind goes everywhere. Where your mind is going during your chanting of the japa, those are your attachments. Because the mind wants to go there. Mind wants to attach to that objects of your attachment. Mind will constantly go there. And it could be an object, it could be a personality, it could be a process, mind can get attached to anything like that. So you have to detach the mind, and you will get that. Devotion, direct expression, and Supreme Lord. These three occur simultaneously for one who has taken shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So you take shelter of the Lord, as Arjuna has taken, right? And he gets all of them, right? Devotion, direct attachment, and direct experience. He experienced there, right on the battlefield. He experiences the Supreme Lord. And of course, he gets detachment. He was so attached in chapter 1, but then he goes and kills all of them. So there's some detachment there as well. And there's a very nice example that is given here. He says that you get them in the same way that, when you start eating something, right? You're very hungry. And when you start eating something, then 3 things happen to you, right? So you eat, so you get relief from hunger, right? You get some pleasure because the thing is tasty. Hopefully you're having prasadam. And then you'll also get some nourishment there, right? So this is what it is. And then tushti, you will get, that satisfaction. And that's the best satisfaction that you can get in life ever, is through devotional service to the Lord. So let's go back to our verse over here. And so the emphasis here is that well, I'm talking to you about yoga, and there will be people who will be attached to that particular process, and that's why Krishna is talking about these kinds of Ashtanga yoga. This is basically Ashtanga yoga is what he talked, right? He was telling him that you sit down and you close your eyes, and then you control your breath, and then you focus on something, and put your dhyan, you go into samadhi, and samadhi is when you have no other thoughts, and but the samadhi can be on anything, right? People can attain samadhi just thinking about some object. Samadhi basically means that your mind is focused on only one thought. But the real samadhi is that when your mind is focused only on Krishna, right? So once your mind is focused only on Krishna, the mind is under control. The mind is there, right? So controlling the mind, yes, it is difficult. And in 11th canto of the Bhagavatam, again in these verses, in this chapter, in this canto only, they define a very nice way of controlling the mind, and they say, like, controlling the mind is like controlling a wild horse. So an unbridled horse, a wild horse that you brought from the forest, and now you're trying to put a bridle on him, right? So that the horse doesn't like. You try to climb on the back, and will not like it, will throw you off. Right? So then somehow you put the reins on the horse and you try to climb the horse, but it will not listen to you. It'll try to go gallop off in this direction, gallop off in that direction, run here, run there, like that it'll do. And so it has to be controlled. So how do you control the horse with the reins? How do you control that? What do you do to the reins?
By training.
Varshana, a little loudly.
By training him.
Yeah, how do you train the horse? With a bridle. How do you train?
You keep pulling at it.
You keep pulling at it, exactly. You keep pulling it, right? So this mind, which can travel at a speed higher than the speed of light, the mind will go here and go there, and you have to keep pulling it up, keep pulling it, so it knows that, okay, now this person is not listening to me. I have to keep on coming back, and I'm getting pulled in that direction. However, a caution that even when you're training wild horses and when you're pulling the reins, once in a while you let go of the rein. Once in a while you let the horse go a little further, and then you pull the rein and bring it back. So same way, mind has also got to be trained. So if you think that from tomorrow I'm going to be extremely strict with the mind, I'm not going to listen to anything, every time it goes there I'm going to pull, and every time the mind tells me that okay, let's have some aloo tikki, and we'll say, oh no, that's indulgence, and don't do that. Every now and then be a little soft on yourself as well, because we don't want to become hard-hearted. A devotee's heart is very, very soft. It doesn't want to do that. Okay? But we have to be philosophically, we have to understand. Philosophically, we have to understand, and through Sankhya, you have to understand that how does the mind work. And I had also given you the mind as an acronym, MIND. Does anybody remember what we had talked about? What does M stand for? What does I stand for? What N stands for? What D stands for in mind as an acronym? We had done that a few weeks ago. So let's try to recall what it was. M, any takers for M? What does mind do for M? It's the biggest enemy. It does something to your problems. What does the mind do? Magnifies the problems. Exactly right. Okay. And then I, it imagines something. What does it imagine? Mind imagines. It imagines. What does it imagine? Yeah, thank you, Vidyavatu Mataji. She's texting. Yeah, so mind imagines pleasure is what Vidyavatu is writing on the WhatsApp group, on WhatsApp to me. Yes, that is correct. So mind imagines pleasure. And what's the example that we gave is that if you're sitting down to eat something very nice, like rasmalai or something, and then you hear a bad news, and then you try to eat the same rasmalai, it doesn't taste good. So why does the rasmalai stop tasting good? It means that the pleasure and the goodness is not in rasmalai, it's somewhere else. Right? So it is the mind that imagines pleasure there. That it's everything has got a pleasure. The pleasure is coming from me. If I put that in my mouth, the pleasure is, come because rasgulla gives me pleasure. The same rasgulla, same rasmalai is not able to give you pleasure when you are unhappy, when you have heard a bad news. Right? So the pleasures are also, pleasures of this material world are all imaginary pleasures. The real pleasure comes from serving the Lord, right? The tushti pushti verse that I said there. And then N is that, N, what does it do for N? What does the mind do? Yes, it neglects. Very good. And what does it neglect? Vidyavadu has typed the answer there, but I'm not going to read it loud. You tell me. What does it neglect? So when you sit down in the morning to chant, what does the mind do? At least what it does to me. When you sit down to chant, what is the mind doing?
It's not attentive.
It is not
It's hard to
attentive.
bring the attention.
It's going here and there,
Yeah.
right? So you got up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Everybody in the family was asleep. Nobody was asking you to do anything. It was a very good opportunity for you to do devotional service, right? And what is the mind doing? It's not using that opportunity. So mind neglects the opportunities. And then the last D, what does it do for D?
Denies reality.
Yeah, it denies the reality of things, right? And I had mentioned, and I pointed to that also about the mind being stubborn, right? In what Sutapa Mataji gave the very nice um, recollection of the acronym that we had used. So, right, SORT, SORT, right? And so the O in the SORT is that it is obstinate. And this obstinacy is coming from the mind's quality of denying the reality. And which is that, aided with the senses, the mind will go out and try to seek pleasure, right? And then after trying to enjoy the material world, it doesn't get any pleasure. But what does the mind do? It denies the reality of that. It'll say, no, let's do it again. Let's try to do that same thing again. So it will do the same thing over and over again, not accepting, not acknowledging that what it's doing is not, you're just imagining the pleasure. There's nothing really there. There's no reality there. Is being stubborn. So that's how the mind over there is stubborn. So mind will magnify the problems. Can you give me an example of how the mind can magnify the problem? Did you ever magnify any problem?
When we imagine that something else will happen, like you said.
We imagine what? Give me a concrete example. A concrete example. One by one. Okay.
If the fire is burning and if we want to put our hand in them, so mind tells, please don't do so because it will be a problem.
Okay. But that is fine. It did not magnify the problem. It's a real thing, right? It's a good mind is being your friend at that time. It's telling you not to put your hand in the fire. When is it that the mind?
Say, for example, if you have to make a presentation and you prepare it and present it to your boss who doesn't like you, in your mind, whole night you'll be thinking that no matter how hard I've worked and how good my presentation is, he's going to find a fault. And when you present, everything's all right. Everybody praises, including the boss. So you magnify because of your fear that the boss doesn't like you.
Yes, very good example. Very good example. And this is how it does. This is how the mind will magnify the problem. Anything and everything, it just magnifies it. And it's like, I had mentioned this example that you take a little pebble. So your problems are like pebbles, and the closer you bring them to your eyes, a small pebble can cover the entire world. So anything that is presented to you, you can bring it very close to your eyes, and let that take over all of you and the whole world like that. And mind can do that. Mind will just dwell on that one thing, and it's so amazing that it'll keep coming back again and again. No matter, you can shoo it away like a stray dog, but how the stray dogs will also come back again and again. So this mind also comes back again and again like that. So I will stop here now and open up for reflections and questions, and see also welcome any newcomers who might have joined. Yeah.
Mataji, Hare Krishna, may I get an example on, I got the magnifying imagination, denial of the reality, neglecting and denial. How can we differentiate that? Or can we get some example on neglecting?
Yeah. So one example that I gave today was that there's an opportunity at 4 o'clock in the morning to sit down and concentrate on the names of Krishna, and you do that. You get up in the morning, and Well, even before that. So you put your alarm, and their mind allows you to set the alarm for the next day. That is good. And then when the alarm goes off, then what happens? The mind says, sleep a little longer. So here was a nice opportunity for you to dedicate your morning time to the service of Krishna, and mind is not letting you to do that. Okay, if you're somehow able to, kick the mind and say, okay, no, I'm going to come out, I'm going to do it. And that's the fight that you will have with the mind all along. And so then you finally sit down to do your chanting. Okay, you're chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And then the mind will tell you something, and you'll have this incredible urge to get up and do something. The mind won't even allow you to sit in that place. And if you're listening, so mind is neglecting this wonderful opportunity that is there to do devotional service, and is instead taking you into here, there, and all kinds of places, right? Sometimes the mind can also neglect opportunities because of fear. So they might have fear, and for example, if the special master says, and we have this very famous example of Samal Krishna, who had mentioned that we should preach to the Chinese, and Prabhupada just said, well, then you go to China and you preached in China, right? So at that point in time, the mind can tell you that, oh, how can you go and do that? It's a communist country. How are they going to listen? I don't understand the language. They eat different food, yada, 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 yada. They can do all that. The mind will tell you all that, put you all fearful things. And then ultimately you'll be so overcome with fear that you'll say, I don't want to do that. And this is the example, exactly the thing that happened to Arjuna, right? So his mind is giving him so many reasons why he should not fight the war, so much so that he got so overcome and overwhelmed that he neglected this good opportunity that was there to help Krishna in his mission. Krishna's mission was Paritranaya Sadhunam Vishna Vinashaya Cha Duskritam. So he is, because of the mind, because of the fear, he neglects that opportunity, goes back to the back of the chariot and sits down with his head down like that in chapter 1. Right? Later on he says, I will not fight. Govindam, and sits down like that. So it was a very nice opportunity for Arjuna also to set so many things right. After all, the Kauravas had done bad things to them, bad things to the mother, bad things to his wife. He has an opportunity, but he's forgetting all that, and he's just tied with, kinno bhogena rajena. What will we enjoy after that? He's talking about enjoyment. Mind is putting those thoughts in his head, right? So that is again another example of, the mind is neglecting those opportunities that are there. So every time the mind.
It is also, Mataji, it is also kind of, can we say that ignoring also, just to get it, ignore the facts. Of course, denial is different thing, but ignore the facts.
Yes.
Ignore it. What the heck? And
yes. Yeah.
Just let go.
Yes.
Even though we know it, awareness, we are in awareness of it, but we just don't care.
Yes.
Is that kind of a thing, right?
It could do that in some cases. It could do that. It could neglect because of fear. Like I said, I don't want to go to that place. What's going to happen? It's going to change my lifestyle. And acknowledging that there are fears like that. I mean, after all, we have lived in the material world for such a long time, and we are conditioned for such a long time to behave in a certain manner whenever we are presented a certain opportunity. So it's okay for us to have a fear. And for us to go and say that, I attended this class and then from tomorrow, no more fear, and I'm not going to listen to mine, and there won't be any fear. The fear will be there, right? And so we just can't go and say that I'm going to change my life drastically. I'm going to throw everything out, and I'm going to become a mendicant and pursue Krishna, because we're going to fall flat on the face. So these things have to happen slowly. So we should have what is known as small daily increments. So don't push the mind also, which is again, taking us back to the example of the horse that I said, that you want to pull the reins on the mind, then pull it very slowly, because mind has got fierce godlike powers. It can retaliate so strong, and the mind is so strong. After all, sometimes, you might have experienced, I don't know, but I have experienced it, that it's like 11 o'clock in the night and the mind is saying that I want to have some ice cream. Let's have some ice cream. And the intelligence is, sitting in one corner, feebly mumbling that ice cream is not good for health. And after all, you have brushed your teeth and the doctor advised you against sugar and all that kind of stuff. And then you realize that without your even knowing, you're already standing in front of the refrigerator. You've already opened the freezer. How does that happen? It's the mind complete control over the senses, karmendriya, gyanendriya, both. It'll go there and get it. So mind is very, very strong. So to say that I'm going to, kick the mind at that time, and even if I'm in the front of the refrigerator and I'm not, close the door shut, I'm not going to eat it. If you're able to do it, you are a very advanced yogi. So congratulations. If you can do that, it's a wonderful thing. But then, at least I can. So then how do we do it? Again, use the analogy of the rain. You have to pull the rain slowly. So, okay, all right, fine. I'm going to have that ice cream, but how about half a scoop instead of 4 scoops, like that, or even go slow. How about 2 scoops instead of 4? And you will be so surprised that, number one, about the workings of both the intelligence and the mind. Number one, today you listen to the mind because mind said, have ice cream. Now tomorrow, exactly at the same time, the mind will wake up. It's almost as if, in software engineering, we have software development, we have little programs that we run, that we create, which wake up at a certain time. They execute and the code, and then they go to sleep again. Similarly, the mind also sort of does that. It'll wake up again at that time and remind you of the ice cream again, like that. So mind remembers, the sanskara. After all, we are used to having ice creams at 11. Didn't we have it yesterday? We want to have it today also, like a child. It'll say that. Chanchalam, on this, on that. And then the intelligence, however, has recorded also something that yesterday, the mind said, let's have 4 scoops of ice cream. And the mind will again come back next day and say 4 scoops of ice cream. Not 2, but the intelligence remembers that. Intelligence say, oh, yesterday we had 2. So intelligence will start again saying that, it will have, let's have 2 only because it's bad for health. Right? And that is why I was mentioning that the other day, that there are 4, stages. There is the thinking, there is the feeling, there is the willing, and there is the action, right? So thinking starts with the mind, but you can involve intelligence along the way and take decisions, up ahead. Take decisions before the action happens rather than regretting after the action has happened, like that. So mind is like that. But slowly, slowly we'll do it. And as we were reading in the 9 stages of devotional service, which says Adau Shraddha Tatha Sadhu Sangha Tatha Bhajana Kriya, that whole thing, 9 stages of bhakti. When you come to the stage of Nishtha, this mind, which is my enemy, actually starts to become my friend. So every day the mind might take you to the refrigerator against your power, right? And but if you're utilizing your intelligence to thwart the proposals of the mind, and you're making your own decision, you're a soul, you can make your own decisions. That's for sure. You can do that, right? It's just that I have become so weak in front of Maya, and as a soul I also desire that. So we have to curb these desires in the beginning itself. And so much so that this same mind, which has been every day saying 4 scoops, 4 scoops, 4 scoops, will one day come and say, let's have 2 scoops. So you see, the mind is now becoming tamed. And then when the mind says 2 scoops, then the intelligence has already built that algorithm in your mind, which says, okay, whatever the mind proposes, we have half of that. So yesterday it was 4 scoops, so we had 2. So today the mind is saying 2 scoops, so we'll have only 1. So you see how you're going in the right direction. And the mind will become a friend again through suitable practice, right? And then one day it'll propose 1, and one day your own mind will tell you, it's bad to have an ice cream. Let's not even do that. Let's not even do that, like that. So we have to go a little, slowly, small daily increments. Don't rush into things, and also don't feel disappointed if tomorrow your mind is not under your control. Just because we read 6.35 from the Bhagavad-gita.
Can I ask you one more thing?
Sure.
So you compared just now, I'm just trying to think all this, putting together in my own head, that mind is thinking, the intelligence is making a decision, meaning, are you saying
intelligence is
the one which
intelligence is discriminating. Discriminates.
Not willing.
Yeah, that part comes from the soul. The final decision is the soul's decision. Intelligence is
action, right? Action is the soul, right?
The willing, the willing to do the action, the will, the decision. That's why Krishna says, I have given you the free will, right? So I've given you the free will. Well, you have got karmendriyas, you have got gyanendriyas, right? So you have got your feet and you have a mind. So mind produces a thought. Why does the mind produce a thought to have an ice cream, right? It's not the mind's fault. It was the soul's desire. It was the soul's desire to have ice cream. And I have this desire from times immemorial. I've been eating ice cream for millions of births. So that's why the desire is there. I like it. So the desire is there. So desire comes, but it comes through the medium of the mind. Through the subtle body, the desire will be expressed. And then the intelligence goes back and looks at its database and say, okay, how was this thing handled in the past? And like like how ministers advise. So the intelligence will advise. And intelligence is actually the next door neighbor of the soul. Intelligence is more close to the soul than the mind. The mind is actually more close to the gross body and the senses. But intelligence is closer to the soul. So it has got an advisory capacity and a capability to say that, you should not have ice cream. It'll discriminate. But the final decision is the soul's decision. If should I have it or not have it. But then if the soul is also constantly presented the same thing by the intelligence that, and as you develop this practice nicely, then the voice of intelligence will become louder than the voice of mind, if I may use the term voice like that. So it'll happen. So there is thinking, there's feeling. Krishna, Arjuna, Krishna says that, right? Yeah, Krishna said that. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
Any walks of, any walks about the life is just very difficult.
Yes, it is. It is difficult. And that's why Arjuna said, Chanchalam hi mana Krishna, Pramati balvadranam. He has stated the problem in front of us, he said. But then what is Krishna saying? Krishna is not poo-pooing it. He's not saying that it is not a difficult thing to do. Krishna is saying that Mahabaho, and he's saying, yes, it is difficult, but he's addressing him as Mahabaho. He's saying, but you are strong. And actually, soul is higher. We just went to the hierarchy. The soul is at the top. The soul is the strongest. Soul can control the mind. It will. That's what samadhi is. The soul controls the mind, right? So he's saying that it is possible to do that, but through what? Through suitable practice and through detachment. So P and D, right? Detachment, and you have to practice over and over again for a long time, like that. But the good thing is that the moment you start the practice, then nothing goes in vain. Devotional service does not go in vain, right? For example, you are in the real estate business, right? And so there's a nice, beautiful bungalow in San Francisco, and you're taking your clients to that. And you go and, take 6 customers there, and one of them really likes it. And then they go through a background check, and you spend some 20 hours trying to sell this house to the customer. And finally, his credit history is not right. He cannot get the loan. So boom, the sale flops, right? So as far as you are concerned, the whole effort is wasted because the sale didn't happen, so you won't get any bonus, right? On the other hand, in devotional service, it doesn't go waste. It doesn't go vain. Whatever little devotional service that you do gets carried forward. Even if we die, it gets carried forward. That's the best part of it.
That's why it is worth it, because you can at least take only that with you. So it's worth to intelligently, discriminate what is what and really do the right thing in life. And for that, I think we need strong devotees like yourself, Mataji. You are helping us so much. Thank you so much.
Well, I'm just being Krishna's instrument, taking that, and I have to thank my spiritual masters who have been guiding me on this. But that is the truth from the investment perspective. This is the best. It is the most intelligent investment that you can do in devotional service. This is the best use of time, right? 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock. I mean, if you had not come here, what would you have done otherwise? Let's see. Let's be open and frank. Anybody wants to tell me what you would have done from 6 to 7, if not being in the class here?
I would have been chanting.
So Archana Mataji is saying that you would have worked. Varshana Mataji, what are you saying? What would you have done?
I would have chanting. I would have done my chanting.
Okay, so Varshana would have done a chanting, which is always a better thing to do. Okay, and then so her efforts in either case would have been good, right? And then what else? Anybody else wants to tell us what you would have done? From
Maybe
16?
cooking.
You would have done some cooking, right?
Gone for a walk.
Gone for a walk. Yeah. Could you have picked up the phone and talked to somebody?
Yeah, it's possible.
It's possible, right? So we can do all kinds of things, and we could end up wasting also.
No, I looked at the you see WhatsApp and see the useless messages.
So Varchana Mataji is saying, I don't know whether you heard her or not, but she said that I could have started WhatsApp and looked at all the useless messages. And it's amazing how the mind will carry you away. It'll just carry you away. And Krishna, it's mentioned in the Bhagavad-gita that even one of the roaming senses of a mind, of a man who's trying to control them, control himself, even one roaming senses carries it away, just like wind carries away a boat. It is that, it's chapter 2, it says, right? Even one of the roaming senses. That's why we are saying, close your eyes and chant, because so that there are no distractions. Because these senses that we have, right? These knowledge acquiring senses, they are always seeking. They're always seeking. If you open your eyes will move all over the room, right? And they work as a team. The ear will hear something, and then immediately you'll turn your head to see, like, where is the sound coming? Where is the sound coming? Like that. And then if you see something interesting, then your legs will carry you there. And they are very bad. These senses are very bad masters. They will convey all that to the mind, and mind has got fierce, godlike powers. It will keep on suggesting, stubborn, keep on telling you to do that. Right? And that's why that kama dhinam katita palita durniteshas tesam jata manuna karuna natripa no pashanti. It says that kama dhinam, I was underneath, adhin. I was under the grip of these senses, which are very bad masters, and they did not give me a single day off. Is there a single day that you experience in your life when your mind did not think anything, when your stomach did not growl and ask for food, when your eyes didn't want to go and see here and there, your ears did not want to hear something mundane? Every day, 24/7, we are controlled by our senses. But then the verse later on goes to say, but now that I have got, I have taken shelter of you, then he sees some hope over there. So that's what our hope is. And that's why in this verse also, Prabhupada in one of the lectures says that the perfection of yoga is bhakti yoga. So you should engage yourself in doing bhakti yoga than trying to do any of these gymnastics, mental gymnastics or bodily gymnastics, either of them. Any other questions or reflections? Anything that you heard that you're going to carry with you?
Carry the mind part. Carry the mind part, kind of constantly reminding self that, hey, look, and it's a good one.
I really like the sentence, Mataji. Intelligence is closer to the soul, whereas the mind is closer to the gross body.
Okay, I'll come to that, Varchana Mataji. Since you are on Zoom, you're not able to hear what I'm hearing on the phone. So I'll let Charu Mataji complete her thought. Yeah, go ahead, Charu.
Thank you, Mataji. Yeah. No, that's okay. I was just almost finished. That mind is the main thing to always remember, because that is the picture on the Bhagavad-gita, the rain. So I like that today's topic and overall everything. Thank you, Mataji.
Good. Thank you for joining us. It's always nice to have you. What about Varchana Mataji? Go ahead. What were you saying?
I was just saying that you said that intelligence is closer to the soul, whereas the mind is closer to the gross body. So I really like this point.
Yeah. Good. And remember, intelligence is subtler than the mind, more subtle, and soul is even more subtle, and super soul is even more subtle than soul, right? And subtle things can control the gross. And for the gross to control the subtle is very difficult, right? That's why he said, Tasyaham nigraham manne vayureva suduskram. It's very difficult for me to control the mind, because all that he has with him are gross things. Right? If you're not looking at your intelligence, you're not thinking from that direction, then what do you have? I've got hands, I've got feet, I've got eyes, I've got Gandiva, I've got all these things, but they are not helping me. They will not help me in controlling the mind. I need to have something more subtle than the mind, and that is the intelligence. That will help us, and then the soul. like that. Yeah. So thank you so much for that.
So subtle can control the gross, right?
Subtle can easily control the gross, more easily control the gross.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Archana.
Thank you so much, Mataji, for the wonderful Krishna Katha. And today's verse was, it was just awesome, because it is actually the plight of not only Arjuna, it's the plight of everyone today. I think it's been on for, billions of years, all this humanity. Because it's very difficult to, subdue your mind. And Krishna has given, such a great, answer for that, how you can actually control your mind by physical practice and by vairagya. So it's really, good thing to take on. Because otherwise, you'll be just lost in this material world. Unless we, drift our mind towards Krishna, it's very difficult to control it.
Yeah. 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 Because if you don't think about Krishna, what will you think about?
And Mataji, the example which you gave, that was also very nice, the ice cream one example. It was really and the soul, and I've taken shelter of Krishna. So, okay, you all working senses or knowledgeable senses, you just go, you can go and you can open the fridge. I'm not going anywhere.
Yes, and that is, yes, that.
Be little, resistant to whatever mind says, then it helps message, or we need to just, do whatever mind is saying, okay, just do it, and then do it in a little bit, like you said. But if we do it in a little way also, will that be, like, we can be indulgent to that also, okay? If you do it on a regular basis, like, really taking action, in 1 or 2 scoops also, but on a longer basis, it can be harmful because mind is again getting indulged in that desire.
Yeah, and here is where the problem is, that unless you substitute that with something else that you do at 11 o'clock, right? If you're sitting alone with your mind, then it'll come back, and mind has got fierce godlike powers. A soul, who's not backed up and is not strengthened by devotional service, just falls prey to the mind very easily, very, very easily. And that is the catch. That's what we have to think, and that's why we have to pray to the Lord to help us overcome the mind. You know that mind is my biggest enemy, but we can always pray to the Lord and do activities. For example, you can say, okay, at 11 o'clock, every time the mind is telling you, then you ask a friend, somebody in India can call you at 11 o'clock in the night because it's still daytime for them. And you can have a conversation. You can say, okay, let's read some 5-6 slokas from Bhagavad-gita, and the mind will go away, maybe come back. One of the things we have to also remember is that, just artificially trying to curb these things, then these senses and mind, Varshana Mataji, can you mute yourself? I'm hearing some background sounds here. So, if you try to curb them without having a proper, substitute for yourself, you're just like, I'm just going to control the mind, then they come back with a vengeance, they'll come back with double the force.
Exactly.
Right? And that's what happens. Like on the Janmashtami night, what happens? Or on the day after Ekadashi, what happens? We eat double. The senses are coming back with double the force. Yeah. So unless we control that, right? I mean, for me, it's so amazing because at my age, it becomes difficult to digest the food. So Ekadashi fasting is always a welcome thing because it gives rest to my digestive system. And so in the morning, it's a habit. So the senses will be telling you, the stomach will growl like, where is breakfast, and then as the day progresses, the things come up, I have to do work and things like that, so I forget that the hunger is there, right? So 2 o'clock passes, 3 o'clock passes, you don't even feel the need for lunch, and then evening is there. Now you haven't had food for the whole day, so there's a little bit of fatigue will come in the body, right? You have not fed the body, and then the mind will start saying, no, is it really necessary? It's almost sundown, so we can count that as one day. Let's eat something, right? So then you have to, slap the mind and get. And the funny thing is that when you go to sleep and get up the next morning, because the whole system has been rested, not doing all the hard work that we are trying to do, you actually feel very good in the morning and you don't feel hungry in the morning at all. And then when the time comes for you to do the breakfast, and then you put the first morsel in your head, in your mouth, then in my mouth, I'm explaining about myself and not about you in general. Before you know, the whole plate is gone. And then you want more and you want more. And then when it's time to lunch, the mind will tell you, hey, but you ate less yesterday. You should eat some more. You're working so hard. What about your health? What's going to happen? What's going to happen? This and that. So you can come back with a vengeance, very strong. So you need to have some other substitute. If you know that this, so never sit alone with your mind.
And the best substitute is Mataji Krishna, right?
Best substitute is Krishna, yeah.
Your thoughts from, from the material world to the, spiritual world, and which is Krishna himself.
Yeah.
So the more you think about Krishna, obviously all these, mundane thoughts will, they'll get vanished, they'll get defeated.
Yeah.
So that's what I was thinking. Like if you devote your mind towards Krishna, it will be always helpful rather than thinking of all these things. But it will come because the soul has all these desires in, previous lifetimes and all. But if we are if we have very strong willpower by the grace of God, because we have taken, shelter of Him, then maybe we can, curb all these desires and all, and we can be, we can emerge as, successful person.
Yes. And I'm going to catch on, to your comment on if you get this, if you have a strong willpower by the grace of God. So then the question is that how does the grace of God come? Right? How will the grace of God come? Like it'll come in an Amazon.com package that'll arrive on your doorstep. So we have to work hard to get the grace of the God. And that's why they say, yeah. So that is why they say that satam prasangam mama virya samvido. You have to associate with somebody who has a strong willpower. Yeah. Right? That is how you will get it. The grace of God sometimes comes to you through the devotees. Now, there's another question that has come up. Varshana Mataji is asking that, if the body does so many different things, it gives you so much of trouble, right? At 11 o'clock in the night, you have to succumb and eat ice cream because of the demands of the body. Then why should you not commit suicide? If you're fed up. So what are your answers? I'm just throwing this question out to everybody. Is that not a good way?
Mataji, if you have strong willpower, like you are just telling, by the grace of God, then you will overcome the sadness and everything. And I think it is the prayer only, Mataji, that will also help.
Prayer will help. So you are saying that one should not give up the gross body, right?
Yes, Mataji.
Because Krishna has given us this body. We cannot just take it on ourselves to end it.
End it. Very well said. So this body is a gift of God. Okay. And it is not in our hand. It's not in our purview at all. It's not in our jurisdiction also to end this life. Okay. So why did we get this body?
To know Krishna, to establish relationship with Krishna, and possibly get out of the cycle of birth and death. That part is, of course, grace of Krishna.
Yes, but what about the bad part? let's talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. Yeah. Right. So because of the so that is one is that you have a desire, right? And because of the desires that you have, and desires are there in the mind, stored, right? The soul desires are stored there, and that's why the subtle body goes from one body to another body. So you had some desires, right? For example, somebody might have a desire to have a big business, and he gets that. So he's conducting this big business, and because of the desire, he will get a suitable body, will be born, if he got sufficient credits, he'll be born in a family where he can go and do the business. But as part of doing the business, he might get fed up with that particular business. So, and while he got this body, because he had a desire to do business, and because of that desire, this is one of the desires because of which he got this body, that his senses will be seeking out those kind of opportunities. They'll be looking from a young age. He will start doing business in the school itself. I remember in my daughter's school, there was a boy who used to buy a bag of candy from Costco for $2. And then each candy he would sell during the school interval or recess for 20 cents or 10 cents, something like that. And he would make money from that. The business mind is there. It's working 24/7. So because of that, you got this body. So remember, we get a body because of our desires, and also because of our karma, which we have conveniently forgotten. We have done certain things. It's not Krishna doing this. Why is Krishna doing this? Why is Krishna not doing this? Nothing like that at all. It is us. As long as we remember to point the fingers towards ourselves, right? If you point a finger at your neighbor, there are three more pointing back at you. And then the thumb is pointing up to say that there is God that you can still, get in touch with. So we get whatever sufferings and enjoyments that we get is because of our old desires and because of the karmic reaction that we have. So now if you're going through certain things and then you then suppose you leave the body, then what's going to happen? So let's talk about how the process of death works up.
What's the question, Mataji? Sorry, what is the question?
What is the process of death? What happens in death? What is death?
Stop working, and I believe the sense of hearing goes last.
Okay.
Versus your sense of seeing stops. So first the speech goes, then hearing.
Okay. And then at what? Okay, so it doesn't matter the order in which it leaves, but then tell me the leaving process.
You leave the body, but the soul goes to another.
Soul goes to another
Body. They'll take another body.
They take another body, and what is the term used for that? Transmigration of soul. Did I hear that?
Yes,
Okay. Yeah. So now with the soul, what else goes to the next body?
Mind.
The thoughts, mind.
Right. Okay.
The subtle body.
Right.
Which comprises of mind.
So do you think that leaving the gross body is a good idea? Does it solve the problem? It just takes you out of this situation. It just takes you out of this situation, right? It just took you out of this situation without the permission of Krishna. So hello, you did one more bad thing for which you will have to suffer, right? So you will get another body and suitable body to exhaust the karma. So if you are having trouble here because of your kids are giving you trouble or spouse is giving trouble or you are in financial troubles and things like that, once you take another birth, subsequently, maybe next or maybe 3 births later, the same things will come and haunt you again. So the best use of a bad bargain, as Prabhupada says, is that now that you're here in prison, then just take to Krishna. And no matter, whether it is better. So when the mind is troubling you and you're not able to chant, so what should I do? When it's difficult for me to do bhakti, then is it better that I leave the body or is it better that I eat ice cream? Better that you eat ice cream. Offer it to Krishna and eat that ice cream. Because, at least you will still stay in this body. And at least you have a desire to organize your thought process and say, Krishna, I need help. Reach out help. Have mentors, who will help you in this situation like that, right? And also, going back to today's class, is that they're also talking about detachment. And we have to do detachment. And sometimes this detachment doesn't happen because we are controllers. We want to control our children, we want to control our spouses, we want to control our bosses, we want to control our subordinates, we want to control and organize everybody's lives. We cannot do that. We cannot organize because everybody is living their life according to Krishna's master plan. And there's nothing that we can do to change it. They will undergo their karma. The only thing that we can do is give them some prasadam. If they refuse to give prasadam, you can pray for them. That's all that you can do. Like that. But giving up the life body is very difficult. And also remember that there might not be a body waiting for you to get into with your subtle body. So sometimes when people commit suicide, and most of the times when people commit suicide, because they have cut short their plan, right? So now this plan has to be reorganized, right? Brahma has to redo the whole plan. Now they have to find a body for you. You might not get a body, so you will hang. So the subtle body and the soul will just hang and you become a ghost. And guess what? Your desires are still there haunting you. So you want to eat this, you want to eat that, but you don't have a gross body to enjoy that. So becoming a ghost by committing suicide is the worst possible thing that you can do to yourself. So one should not even think of that. If you find that it's very difficult to do bhakti, it's time to recalibrate your goals. Maybe you have set your goals very high. Maybe you're going very fast, then you can, then you can walk. So talk to somebody, sit down and see what your goals are. If you have written them down, revisit them. If you have not written them down, they were somewhere in your subtle mind, then you sit down, write them down and see, are they realistic? Are they timely? Are they achievable? Maybe not. And that is why bhakti has become so difficult, because bhakti is something that should be susukham kartum avyayam. It should be joyfully performed. And if the joy is not coming, then it could also be because of too much work in the bhakti area. It could also be because of Vaishnav aparad. Because of Vaishnav aparad, because we are subtly, knowingly or unknowingly, we are doing something that is annoying some other Vaishnava. And the Vaishnava might not say anything, but Krishna takes that situation in his own hands. And then he starts doing that. So our devotional service, if it at all goes down because of two reasons. Srimad Bhagavatam says in the 5th canto, it says that it goes down because of two reasons. One is Vaishnava Aparad. Clearly, Vaishnava Aparad is there first. And the second, he says that it is Krishna's own plan. Sometimes you were doing some devotional service and then he come back and say, no, you leave that and you come and you become a king. Like that. So Priyavrata and all that, in that is section of Bhagavatam, you'll read that story. So we don't have to worry about that. We are not, at least myself, I'm not that exalted that Krishna will come and say, oh, Shraddha Mataji, you stop this and you're better at this and come and do this. I don't think. If at all I go down in my devotional service, it will be because of Vaishnava Pran, which is very subtle and which can happen very subtly, but the effects are like how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, it is like Hati Mata, as if there is a bull in the china shop or a Hati has come into a garden, and how an elephant will come and break everything in its sight in the garden. That's how it comes and demolishes your bhakti. So we have to be very cognizant of, what we are speaking, what we are thinking, and, pray to Krishna. Whenever a bad thought comes, don't get so overwhelmed that, I want to kill myself now because of this. Remind yourself that you are not the mind also. You are a soul, and you're not the mind, and you're not the thought also. So even if bad thoughts are coming to your mind, observe them and pray to Krishna to help you stop these kind of thoughts, the bad thoughts that come, envy, pride, anger, and things like that. Again, and stay. The more the mind tells you to run away, the more the mind tells you that bhakti is useless, like that, the better it is yeah. So yeah, there's nothing that we can do if miseries come into your life. Varshana, you are asking that question about suffering. So miseries come in your life, but suffering is your choice. Do you want to suffer? Do you want to suffer? And the suffering sometimes will happen. The misery will happen because of you cannot avoid them. Just as good fortune also comes on its own accord, bad fortune also comes on its own accord. We are helpless in front of that. But where we have the complete choice is the willing and the action. So there's a thinking, okay, this is happening to me, this is happening to my near and dear ones. What's going to happen to Corona? Somebody got divorced, somebody died, like that. So when the thinking is there, the feeling is also there, right? But then the willing, okay, there's no good. Let's stop Krishna consciousness. I've been doing it for such a long time. Krishna doesn't even do that. On the other hand, and that is why those Vigyapti prayers that I said, that I circulated to all of you, right? Most of you I circulated, is a very nice way where you open your mind. Vigyapti means to open your mind to Krishna and lay your mind bare, completely bare in front of Krishna and say, Krishna, this is what is happening to me. This is what my mind is telling me. This is where my mind is going, and I need your help. The Vigyapti prayer started with, right? It says that nobody is worse than me. Nasti. Right? There's no soul which is worse than I am. So that's the mood in which we do those prayers. Do those prayers, you know. Matsamo nasti papatma na paradhi cha kaschana parihare pi lajjame kim brugve purushottama. And the best part is that, and the best part, I mean, this is such a beautiful prayer. That's why I brought, because the essence and the feeling and the words are amazing. And that is, it says that bhumau bhumau salita padanam bhumere bhavalambanam tvai jata aparadhanam tvameva sharanam prabhu. And what is this from the Skand Purana? And what it says is that just as the ground is the only support for those whose feet have slipped. Right? You were walking on the ground and then you slipped. So it's the same ground itself that takes care of you and gives support to the whole body that falls on the ground. Similarly, he's saying that you alone, O Krishna, are the only shelter for those who have offended you. So we have offended Krishna, right? In the past, that's why we're here. So Krishna is the only shelter that we have. There is no other way, no other way, no other way. There will be tough times around you. There will be times when you feel so depressed, you know, because of whatever is happening. You know, people face misfortunes. You know, the whole money was in stock, and because of Corona, the money has gone. Or, you know, kids are not behaving properly, or, you know, spouse is not behaving properly, bosses, all kinds of things. This is Dukhalema Shashvatam is there. To reach out, you should have, like I'm saying, you should have a circle of friends that you can reach out to you know, in your time zone. Talk it out, you know, with somebody.
Mataji, you said thoughts are also for Krishna.
Thought should always be for Krishna.
So thoughts are also, like, let's say if I'm thinking something, right, based on current situation, like, you know, mind here and there, then those thoughts which are coming, those are also from Krishna, or it's just my mind?
No, your mind. Well, here's an interesting thing, that if we are not connected with Krishna, then everything comes from myself, right? And Krishna behaves like, you know, that there's that famous situation that they give, which is about how the mind is, how the soul is one bird and super soul is another bird, and they are both sitting on a tree. The soul is actually going from one branch to another branch, trying to enjoy and pecking at every fruit which is there. Some fruits are sweet, so the bird is happy. Some fruits are bitter, and it starts lamenting. And then this other bird is just looking and observing. The super soul is just observing. But when this little bird turns the face towards the super soul and says that, you know, here I am, then the super soul starts talking. So the thoughts which were purely in the beginning, this little bird was just having thoughts on its own. Oh, the red, oh, the red fruit. Oh, this yellow fruit. Oh, this raw fruit. Oh, this katta fruit. Oh, this mita fruit. I should have this. I should have this. I should have this. Right? But then when it turns to, and the Lord will not say anything. He will actually upadrishta anumanta. He's supervising you, supervision, right? So when you the word supervise, right, and comes from supervision. So the Lord is supervising you. So who supervises you? When you supervise, this means you are conducting the act of supervision. What does supervision mean? Super means good, and vision. So somebody who has got better vision than you should be the one who should be supervising you, right? It happens in real life also. So similarly, God is supervising you. Uptrashta. He's your supervisor. He's got a better vision. So he will supervise you. So even if you are going and doing the wrong thing, he will allow you to do it. Why? Because he has the longer vision. He knows that you'll go and eat that bad fruit, and then you'll say, Krishna. And he's like, okay, now, Rava, you suffered, but because of the extreme suffering that you have, now you're turning towards me. So he will allow that to happen to you. Your decision, he won't say anything. But when you, and Anumanta, for you to, you know, allow that. So granted, because without Krishna's permission, nothing happens. Not a blade of grass moves. So everything happens because of that. But there is a Krishna's plan. And when Krishna's plan is different from our plan, that's when the lamentation starts, right? But when we turn towards Krishna, actually, for the devotees, you know, he starts interfering. He will start talking to you. He will start planting ideas. He'll start planting thoughts, good thoughts, better thoughts to you. And that is what is known as, you know, the Cheto Darpana Marjanam is cleansing of the mind. And cleansing of the mind, what is cleansing of the mind? After all, towards the end, the mind becomes transcendental, because if you touch an iron rod to fire, the iron rod becomes fire. Similarly, if your mind is constantly thinking about Krishna, it will become transcendental. So you have to have faith, adhav shraddha, right? And then the question again is that, how do I have faith? I'm going through so much of difficulties in my life. How can I have faith in Krishna? Then you go and look around and see the lives of the people who have faith, who also had similar difficulties or even more difficulties than what you have, right? I mean, if we are complaining that I do not have cilantro, or I did not have this flavor or that flavor, because although I went to the shopping mall and there was nothing there available, think about those who don't even have money to buy, right? So it comes also because of, and that is why they say that if you're doing bhakti, you have to cultivate gratitude. So every time there's a negative thing that happens to you, sit down and consciously write down and think about better things, good things that have happened to you. And I'm sure there'll be a huge number of things. And actually, people, and especially when you are depressed, and these are depressing time, right? Um, when it is depressing time, um, you should try to do activities that will take you out of the depression. So cultivate a habit. For example, how about tonight? Everybody just sits down and says that I'm going to write about 5 people that I'm grateful to. Think about 5 people, write down their names, right? And if you're brave, you can thank them. If you don't want to, that's okay as well, but write that down. And then you will slowly, um, get bored. Why? Because every night you'll be writing. And this is something one of my friends from India gave me this idea, and then I'm repeating his things. He said that in the morning, in the night, you will write, I'm grateful to my parents, I'm grateful to my husband or to my wife, I'm grateful to God, I'm grateful to my boss, I'm grateful to the government. 5, done. Okay. Next day, again, those 5. Next day, again, those 5, you're done, right? But you see, this is not taking you anywhere in your gratitude cycle, right? So, then you say, all right, now tonight what I'm going to do is I'm going to write the names of 5 people that I'm grateful to because of what they did today. You see? So then you start develop the reason, why am I grateful? Then otherwise it's a very, I'm very grateful to my husband. I am grateful to him, I'm a wonderful husband. So I'm grateful to him, right? But then to say, what did he do today, is being more precise and being more appreciative of what he did for me today. Like that, right? Like he was heating his water and he realized I also needed hot water in my thermos. So instead of just filling his thermos, he also came and filled my water bottle. This one, right? Like that. So you see, you are cultivating gratitude over and over time. So the same husband, when at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, behaves obnoxiously to you, you are armed with, you won't react. Reaction will be in a different way, because now you'll say, come on, he's not all that bad. He did 10 good things to me in the beginning of the day. So can I just shut up and not respond? Again, it goes back to thinking, feeling, willing, and acting. And it's a practice. Even God said, God didn't tell Arjuna, I will come and touch man, put my hand on your head, everything is going to be okay. You have to do practice, right?
I was thinking about the thought part, like if the thought part is coming from Krishna, then the best thing is to just think about him rather than focusing on the thinking of the thought which is coming from the mind, right? That's the best approach.
Everything comes from Krishna. Aham sarvasya prabhavo. Okay. Vaishana Mataji, you know that verse from the 10th chapter of Bhagavad-gita? From the Chakrashroti Bhagavatam? Yeah, no, I'm asking Varshana Mataji. Do I still have Varshana here on the call, on the Zoom? Yeah, she's still there. So Varshana Mataji, what does that say, Bhagavad-gita?
Aham sarvasya prabho mata sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam.
Buddha Bhav.
Buddha Bhav.
Okay, now here is what I'm, the classic example. So Varshana Mataji is texting me all her questions. And she said that I'm a useless, dumb-witted, unintelligent person. I've been reading stuff for such a time and I still don't remember it. Now, who remembered that verse just now? So you see, Varshana, where the mind takes you? Mind is just telling you that you're useless, that you don't still remember, but you do remember. You remember the most important verse. You remember the first verse. You remember 25% of the Chaturashloki Bhagavatam. You just demonstrated that, right? So this is exactly how the mind goes, like that. It'll take you on a ride and you have to be very, very careful. Since morning, it'll just keep on telling you. Yeah. And so what if you don't remember the Bhagavad Gita? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you don't remember all the shlokas of the Bhagavad Gita. This is not a shloka competition. Remembering shloka and all that is raking. Yeah, how much of the Bhagavad Gita are you able to apply in your life? And don't approach the Bhagavad Gita with the thought that I'm going to memorize the Bhagavad Gita. Why? Because Bhagavad Gita is the song of the Lord. So there's no difference between Bhagavad Gita and Krishna himself. So you're saying that I'm going to control, right? I'm going to make sure that I'm going to remember. It's not going to happen. It'll only happen, when you approach these literatures in a very submissive mood, very, very submissive mood like that. And it'll come. That's why for the
Hare Krishna Mataji,
Charu, go ahead.
I was just a little comment in here that yes, we are grateful to the people those people have helped us in the life, but I am in my mind in the business world that I've learned personally. I've learned with the combination of spiritual and business thought that I'm also thankful to some people who created obstacles in my life or created, I wouldn't say created, but that just came to my life one way or other. And that I never allowed those situations or people to break me. They made me. So this is how I take life. And any situation comes, good people, yes, they help you. Sometimes we are weaker because they helped us in some corners of the life. But some who came in and made it so strongly impossible, where your faith in God and your own strength, you believe in it, and you make it. It could be financially, spiritually, emotionally, whichever way you take it. Just take it that way. So you never think of going to the suicide route because you can't remember something or because of this or that. It's just we are here to make it to, of course we are here now learning more and more that we have taken this birth not to take it again and again, to get out of it. So remembering Krishna and understanding this all, it's like best, that even bad people make your life too. They take you, every step can take us to the direction towards Krishna.
Very well put. Very well put. And actually, on the other extreme is Kunti Maharani. She actually says that give me Vipada, because that's only the time when I really think of you. All the other times we don't think, do we? I mean, if our kids are behaving properly, if we are enjoying with our husband, and the time comes for us to chant, we'll say, okay, fine. Let me first enjoy here. I'm sitting in a restaurant, I'm eating, I'm on a walk, I'm here, I'm there, I'm flying. We neglect Krishna, and that's what we have been doing. So sometimes these miseries, they come. And I always say that, and I always repeat that all the time, is that do not blame the instrument of your karma. So people who are around you, who are giving you grief like that, right? I'm not saying that don't do anything about it. I'm just saying that your mindset should be like that this is happening to me because of what I have done. Then it becomes easy for you to handle that situation. The moment you know that I have done it. If you don't, if you again think that those people are doing bad things to me, those people are doing bad things to me, then you will want to retaliate, and then you might not be able to win because of the situation. So it is up to us to accept it and acknowledge that whatever is happening to me is because of my own karma. Then it becomes easy for you to handle the instrument of your karma. And instrument could be your boss, your siblings, your anybody, the dog, the cat, whatever, demigods. They are instruments of your karma. And actually, in the long run, the more miseries that we have, the better it is. Because then you focus more on Krishna. Then you realize the reality of this life. Because what is happening is that we are constantly punar charvita charvanana. We are trying to go back and do the same thing over and over, over and over, over and over again. And we are expecting the same thing, right? We are doing something and we are expecting a different thing. So what happens, sometimes you might have heard stories in India, especially, that people become mad, like mentally. And so what did a mad person do? Well, he took a bucket and then he dried up the well, which was in the family courtyard. He dried up the well And what was he doing? He was putting the bucket, taking it out, throwing the water, then put it down again in the well, take one more bucket, throw it away, like that. So he has thrown away all that. And so why is he doing that? Why is he doing it over and over and again? Because every time he puts the bucket inside, he's expecting a different results. He's not expecting water. So trying to do the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result is like acting like a crazy person. So we should always remember, once bitten, twice shy. If you're bitten, you have gone down that path, and you know that you did not get anything good in return for that, don't go down that path again. Because if you do the same thing, you will get the same result, right? It's the law of material nature. That's how material nature works. You take hydrogen, you take oxygen, two molecules, two atoms of hydrogen, one atom of oxygen, you put pressure on it, you will get water. You can do that over and over, over and over, over and over again. You will get water all the time. By mixing hydrogen and oxygen, you will not get something else. You will not get alcohol. You'll get water, like that. Similarly, in the material world, if you're doing something, you find that, it's not working out, don't do it again. Do it differently. Don't do it same thing all over again. Look at the same result there, like that. So it is difficult, and that is why we need buddies around us. We need buddies around us, and sometimes Krishna arranges buddies around us, but we don't appreciate them. We behave badly with them, and then, so, or we think we are superior to them, or whatever. Or who is that person? Oh, it looks like a stupid person. I'm not going to unburden my heart to them. But you never know. People might be looking very stupid. They might be looking very simple. They might be, but they have a wealth of information. They might have more experience, and who knows? They might be more unhappy in their lives than you are. And when you hear their story, you'll be like, oh my, Krishna is really good to me. So sometimes it's good to open up your heart. That's why they say dadati pratiganati gohiyam akhyati prichati. So sometimes you have to open up your heart. And these Vigyapti prayers are doing that. They're asking you to open up your heart to Krishna, like that. So in this, we have to stay together. In this, we have to help each other out, right? That's what I'm asking everybody nowadays in this coronavirus days, that, pick up the phone and call somebody that you haven't called for a very long time. Call a devotee, ask how they are doing. And, so engage your mind in doing that, rather than just sitting and sulking and saying this thing happened, that thing happened, I'm very upset, and I'm this and I'm that. Uh, that you can't change in any way. That's your karma coming at you. How can I make the best use, right? Maybe you can also say that every time somebody is behaving badly with you, and or every time you enter into a bad situation, well, every time I enter into a bad situation, I'm going to call a friend and I'm going to read one chapter of Bhagavad Gita with them, or one verse of Bhagavad Gita with them, or one shloka, or one word, whatever your time permits. But what is going to happen is that the more the number of difficulties you have, the more chapters of Bhagavad Gita you'd have read, like that. So, and that's the only way. Trying to go and talk to materialistic people on these talks is only going to agitate you. Opening up the television and listening to that is only going to agitate you. The only thing. Now we all are in a bad situation right now. People can't complain that somebody is better off. We all are facing the coronavirus thing. We're all confined to the homes. We're all going through a bad situation, right? The thing is that yes, it is misery are there, but do you decide to suffer? What do you decide to do? So we can definitely make a conscious decision that I'm going to use this opportunity and do more Krishna Katha, engage myself more in my devotional service, because that will yield. That's the only thing that will yield result. That's the only thing that will help pacify your mind, calm down your mind. So stay away from those people who agitate your mind. Vaisheshika Prabhu was saying the other day in one of his classes, he said, be careful. He said, and cognizant. I don't know whether he used that word, but it boils down to this, that he said that, you should observe your internal environment, what's going inside your mind. And then also, once you start observing that and try to find out the root cause of those agitations, then you will also be cognizant of what you are surrounding yourself with. And the mind will again tell you that, let me go and talk to this person. And the intelligence feebly telling you that this is wrong. So then don't do it. And that is where you can apply your power. After all, Krishna said to Arjun, Mahabahu, right? He said, you are Mahabaho. What does that mean? Right? Arjuna is, well, so are you. You are a part and parcel of the Lord. You can conquer the mind. People have done that. Right? Shastras are telling us they have done that. So you also do like that. So I can only say that, in these bad times when all of us are suffering, let's all stick together, continue the vibrations, keep the vibrations going. And that's why I have all these classes, extra classes that I'm doing. Like every day in the morning at 6:30, there is a Bhagavad-gita class. Right now, if you want to attend the class, maybe you have to change your lifestyle a little bit, go to sleep a little early, right? And then come attend. Can't attend the whole section, attend 5 minutes, 10 minutes. At least you'll see faces of devotees or hear voices of devotees. That's a good start for the day. Right?
Mataji, excuse me, 6:30, are you doing classes every day?
Yes, every day except Saturday because we have Japa circle on Saturday.
Oh, okay, 6:30 every day. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't know I'll be there tomorrow.
Yeah. We conduct those classes on Zoom, so they are not on this conference call. And we broadcast them. Yeah, we broadcast them on Facebook. But the morning Zoom calls are amazing because we see devotees face to face, and that forces you to to get up, brush your teeth, take a shower, and then come because it's a Zoom call like that. So that will bring a rhythm.
Just go to Zoom, and is there any link
I
that you
will.
send us to?
Yeah. The links I will add you. I will add you to a group where I announce all these classes, and I will add you there. Yeah. Like that. So we have bumped up this because vibrations are important. It's only the vibrations that will change. I mean, vibrations, I was mentioning in one of my classes in the morning, the vibrations change the world. That's why people give speeches, isn't it? You go and sit in one of the speeches. I mean, Martin Luther King said, right? And see what the American Revolution happened. So like that, um, vibrations have a tremendous effect on us, tremendous. And so be careful of what you're surrounding with. And the best thing to do is to change a voluntary lifestyle change. And then I'm not saying that come attend my class. There are many devotees who are conducting classes in the morning. Whatever works for you in your part of the country, what you're part of the city or part of USA, then attend. You should start your day on a positive note, and nothing but Krishna Katha can give you positive note. That'll arm you to face the rest of the day. Like that. So, okay. So it's close to 8 o'clock. Did you all realize that? It's been 2 hours we have been on this call.
8:30.
Yeah,
Close to 8:30.
Okay. So I'm sure you have to go home and cook breakfast, dinner, whatever, lunch, whichever part of the world you are in. But thank you so much for joining, because I have other meeting coming up at 9 o'clock today, so I need to leave. But we will continue the discussions and continue our Krishna Katha at 6:30 a.m. tomorrow morning, 1 p.m. in India. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubhyev cha patitanam pavnebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Gopremanande Hari Hari Bol. Good to see you, Varshana Mataji, now, finally.
So much. Thank you, ma'am.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam, Hare Krishna.
Goodbye.
वर्षाना
Vandana Mataji.
क्या हुआ? अब मैं रिकॉर्ड नहीं कर रही, ब्रॉडकास्ट भी नहीं। एक मिनट रुको